What?
And we are live. Facebook, this Frantic Romantic with Hanging with the Friends. Episode number 14. Tonight we have bassist extraordinaire, session musician, Nestor Flores from Tijuana, Mexico. Welcome, Nestor.
Woo.
Hi guys.
Yay.
What's up, Nestor?
It's good to see you, man.
Yeah, man. Long time no
Yeah,
see, man.
Yeah.
Part of our extended family here, you know?
Yeah. 1 year ago, we played at the Festiarte Tzacut. Yeah. I just posted the video that they took from us on the
The
event.
one where Michael runs up to the camera? Yeah.
Well, there's 4 videos of which Michael runs to the camera, and
Yeah.
let me tell you, it was. Oh man, for me it was the greatest show from last year, and I still have great memories on it, and man, I enjoy every second of it. Yeah, definitely the best part from 2019, which I missed so much. Instead of this,
Me too.
Yeah, I wish that would have just
gross year.
stayed forever, right? Like it would have just lasted through 2020 and just, you know,
Yeah,
that feeling, man, you know?
That
Yeah,
show, I'll just come out and say it. That show was probably the best night of my life. I'll be bold and ambitious and just come out and say that. And
I remember, man. Yeah, it was great. It was a great night. Everybody was in such a good mood after, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
We're all hanging.
Yeah,
It was, yeah.
yeah.
I remember Nestor right after the set. You and I just gave me a big old hug, and I'm just like, this is amazing.
Yeah, because actually, believe it or not, I'm gonna sound exaggerated or something, but the truth is, I felt like a musician for the first time in my life. I don't know why, because this was the first time that when I just stopped playing and I got out from the stage, people just gathered to us and asked for an autograph, and I remember that everyone was with Michael and hugging. And asking for an autograph, and Rick was having his drumstick thrown to everyone.
He had like almost like 50 drumsticks that he threw out. I remember that.
Yeah,
That was crazy.
And I only had like my two bass sticks, and I was like, oh well, here we go. Yeah, and yes, I mean it was something really amazing for me, because asking for an autograph, asking for a photo too, which is kind of awesome.
Mind blowing.
Finally believing that I'm a musician, you know. And
You're a great musician, man.
You
Yeah.
killed it. Yeah, you.
And
Awesome.
you know what I also saw on that night was that I think you guys changed the way of how we have to see a show in Festiarte.
Wow.
Because you guys came here, you played, but you went with your character. Mike went with your glasses, your jacket, and you, Ruben, you came also with your, and Amy also, and Rick. Everyone was doing their character, and the people were enjoying that. I mean, this is something that we have never seen before. And that's the reason why that I was like happy. I was really enjoying the night. And what else? I think I also see that the people enjoy the way of how Mike was involved with the people. Like come on guys, let's just get with us. Like enjoy.
And he engaged them. Right.
Engage. Just don't be like far away from us. Just come here, enjoy the show. This is how it needs to be.
You know, I'll dare and say this. That's the first time, Mike, I ever saw your reverse claustrophobia line work. Like,
I know.
Like on that scale, you know what I mean? With that many people, you know, like.
Yeah, it doesn't
cool.
work. It doesn't work on audiences up here too much. But I mean, you know, that night, you know, and for the audience, just to fill you in, sorry. So Nestor filled in for us to play bass when we played a show down in Tijuana, and this was almost exactly a year ago.
Yeah,
it was just maybe
1 year ago and 2 weeks ago, actually.
Yeah,
June 22nd. I remember. Yeah.
June 22nd.
Yeah.
But you know what really man, you know what really meant something to me? Like what meant so much to me about that night, and actually, the time after that when we went down to Tijuana also, is just like meeting these kids who's like it was like their first concert, you know, and
Right.
like you could tell that like just these kids, it just meant so much to them, you know, and like you give them a high five and like, you know, you give them your CD and
Yeah.
whatever autograph and picture and stuff. And it just means so much to them.
Yeah.
And I don't know, man. I mean, that's something else that I just haven't really experienced up here too much.
Right. I feel
Um,
like you can't pay people to take CDs sometimes over here. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
and okay, everybody, just for the record, there's a lot of awesome people up here in the States. And,
Right.
you know, we've met a ton of cool people, but I got to tell you, man, there's something about Tijuana that it's magical. It's just magic.
You know, it's crazy that there was so many factors that went into making that show possible. And there was a lot of times when I didn't show it, but I had my doubts. I was like, man, how am I going to figure this out? You know, from like recruiting musicians, recruiting, you know, Nestor, recruiting Rick, getting us down there, and then rehearsing. We were like an hour late to the rehearsal, you know? Nestor was cool enough to get us a rehearsal space.
Yeah.
We were like an hour late.
Wow.
And you know, the secret here was that actually, thanks to Rick, when I met, I remember that day. I got into the studio, and there was Ryan and there was Rick, and then nice to meet you. I'm Nestor. Hi, I'm Rick, and hi, I'm Brian. And then Rick told me, oh, this is the first time that I played with this guy. So I was, what? Seriously? Oh, so then I'm the kind of guy, you know, this is the first time too. So it's gonna be easy for me. I was nervous. Yes, I was nervous. but then on the show again, I was having a blast. I was very happy. The only thing I never doubt something about the show or nothing, but thanks to Rick, because again, Rick told me this is the first time that I'm playing with this guy, so don't worry. That
You're parejos, right? Yeah.
You're not the only one. And okay, so let's go. I'm fine then.
Yeah, dude, that was like such an awesome experience. Like,
Yeah.
I felt like, you know, a hired gun too, man. And at
Yeah.
that point I was, and I had the same feeling you did, you know, except let me maybe rephrase it here. I already knew I was a musician, but that was the first time I felt like a rock star.
Oh, that's what I wanted to say. Yeah.
Okay. All right. So I knew what you were saying. It's like, this took musician to that next level of performance of being rock star, man. It's like, I've never thrown out drumsticks. I've never, to that point, I've never signed an autograph, but it's like, I will sign whatever you guys want as late as you guys want. So I never got one of these kind of things, sign it right here, but you know, that's, I'm sure will come.
Yeah.
And then we got awesome food afterwards.
Yeah.
Oh
we did.
man, that was,
We did.
that's like I don't have to get paid to go play Festiarte. I have to have the food.
Yeah.
I have to have the food. All right. So we got first question tonight is from, and I am going to mispronounce.
It's Yay.
Yay.
Yay. How's
Yay.
it going, Yay? Yay is an awesome animator, by the way.
All right, man.
If you
So
have an
she wants
animation project, you got to hire Yay.
Was Yay, I don't know, is it male, female?
He's male.
Male. Okay. I can't tell from the name.
Totally
forgive me on
fine.
that. So,
Totally
all
fine.
right. So he wants to know who came up with the idea for the glasses.
Oh, that's Michael, by far, Michael.
Good question.
When did I start wearing glasses?
You started wearing them when Dave Gary told you were Elvis or some shit like that. Remember? And he let you borrow some aviators or something like that, like hella years ago.
You
Yes,
know,
indeed.
actually, okay. So Ruben, that's a good point.
Yeah.
I started wearing those aviator glasses all the time.
Right.
Because Dave Gary had given them to me. And for anybody who doesn't know, Dave Gary used to be the drummer in our band, and he had passed away. And so after that, I wanted to wear those glasses at every show to honor Dave Gary. I still have those glasses, but I feel like I don't want to break them.
Yeah.
So that kind of, I think that was sort of what it was. Yeah, it was sort of in honor of him at first. Maybe still now, but I think it just I got used to it.
Well, it's funny because then our mindset changed, and I remember you were like, "Let's fully embrace something. Let's kind of create like an alter ego and just be all in with what we're doing." And
right.
that's kind of what's become, what we've turned into now.
Well, and these glasses in particular, I wear these as an homage to one of my favorite comic book characters, Scott Summers.
Right.
Cyclops.
And we're big
Cyclops.
X-Men nerds here, so
Right.
yeah.
Yeah, you have one too. You have another one here too.
Oh, nice.
Awesome.
So
I think you
here's what I
maybe
was-
a Gambit guy. Maybe are you a Gambit guy?
No, my favorite X-Men, it will be, I think it's Cable.
Nice.
Oh, awesome.
It's
Yeah, good
It's
choice.
interesting.
Yeah.
It's interesting. I didn't knew that he's the son of Jean Grey.
Yeah,
and
Jean Grey,
Cyclops.
yeah.
Right.
Cyclops, yeah.
So it's one hell of a mutant,
Right.
He is like one of the most powerful mutants, I
Right.
believe. He's like
He's-
Omega class.
Omega, right? And spends most of his time with his other advanced powers stopping the technovirus. in his
Virus.
body.
Yeah.
He's focusing so much on that, and he still kicks ass. I think that's like a great mutant.
And the most funniest thing that I met who Cable is thanks to the video game Marvel vs. Capcom 2.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
I always pick Cable. So
Yeah,
that's
yeah.
why I know who Cable is.
So
Awesome, man.
Ruben here is a Magneto guy.
Right, Magneto,
also-
do or die, man.
Also
Right.
very badass,
A
Magneto.
villain here.
Sometimes. I mean, ultimately, he's been portrayed as a villain, but I remember reading a Secret Wars when I was younger, and like the alien race that like captured everybody and had them all fight or whatever classified him as a hero because he was like so much about his cause, And
Well,
I dug
that's-
that.
I mean, that's the thing. Magneto will not harm another mutant. I mean, unless he has to.
Right.
But he's not going to harm another mutant because he's trying to protect the mutants. He's just very violent towards humankind.
Right. It's like the
It-
Malcolm X to
Martin
Professor
Luther King.
X's Martin Luther King. Right.
Yeah.
That was the dynamic they were trying to do with him.
Yeah,
Anti-hero. I consider Magneto as an anti-hero. That's
he is.
Yeah, he is. He is an
Yeah.
anti-hero.
And a quick question, guys: Do you got upset with the Dark Phoenix movie?
Oh, yeah.
Yes.
Oh, my God.
Yes.
Oh,
Why? I just
What a-
watched it.
What a sad way to end that.
This franchise, right?
Like a 20-year-old franchise, and they ended on
Second
that
time.
movie.
Second time.
Second time
and
they
please
ruined the
stop.
Phoenix. Right.
Please.
Right.
Stop.
Well, what's funny
Yeah.
is, so Bryan Singer, with both those X-Men Phoenix movies, Bryan Singer was originally going to make X-Men 3, which had Phoenix in it, and then he was going to make Dark Phoenix. But both times, the first time, I don't know if he got into
Superman.
Oh, yeah,
Didn't
he
he go
left
do
to do
Superman?
Superman Returns. So then
Yeah.
he ended up not doing Dark Phoenix. And then he's like, oh, I'll finally do Dark Phoenix with this new series. And then
He got Me Too. Right?
Me Too,
Controversy. Right.
so then they brought someone else in last minute, and then that person did Dark Phoenix. And
It was
tried.
Simon Kinberg or something like that. It was the dude who was
Right.
like his number 2 guy when they did the other movies, which I liked First Class.
Me
First
too.
Class it wasn't really the story, but I dug it. I love the dynamic between Magneto and Professor X. It was dope.
It was like
I
a great,
like. Go ahead. You were saying?
just saying, it was like a great like soft reboot, I thought.
Right.
Yeah.
And then I liked the follow-up was great too. Days of Future Past was pretty badass.
That's my favorite.
And that's-
Hands down, my
and
favorite.
that's-
Okay, so here's what I would have to suggest: a couple things as far as the comic book stuff.
Yeah.
As somebody who's not deeply immersed in comic, and really any of those storylines, let go of it. Don't hang on and don't try to make the comic books hold true to the movie, because I think the movies are okay. That's just another person's version of that story. It's like
Definitely.
if Mike was to tell somebody about his experience going to play Festa de Arte the first time in Tijuana, or the second time for you, like the first show that we did as the full band.
Right.
Yeah.
You're going to hit other stuff and you're going to tell the story different, but it's still going to be the same story that I would tell in some ways. So that's what always bums me out. It's like when people are, I hated that movie. It wasn't true to the comic, and it's like, no, and it won't be.
Well,
it won't be.
I hated Dark Phoenix for other reasons. It
as
wasn't
a
because
movie.
yeah,
as
a movie.
Here's the thing,
sure,
Rick.
I just enjoyed Dark Phoenix just for. Okay, yeah, that's another piece of the story.
Right. And here's the thing, Rick.
I didn't run out to see it in the theater, though. Okay, if that means anything.
I agree with you that, especially with comic book movies, no one should be expecting an adaptation of any books. They should be expecting an interpretation, and really, at its best, like a summary of the spirit of certain characters, right?
Right.
Like
That's
Batman Begins, Dark Knight Rises. They switched some things around, right? I mean, Joker didn't fall into the acid bath.
Right.
Ra's al Ghul didn't like jump into the Lazarus pit and become immortal and all that shit. But they made the characters feel like the characters, which was great. Same, I think, with the Marvel Cinematic Universe.
Right, Ragnarok was great, right? It wasn't Planet Hulk, but it was great. I thought it was an awesome movie,
Yeah, and it's like you're watching Captain America and you think, okay, Captain America feels like Captain America. I feel like I'm watching the comic book character Captain America. The problem I have with the X-Men movies, and to greater or lesser degrees depending on what phase of the X-Men movies you're talking about, is they don't necessarily care about capturing the spirit of the characters. And I think the worst offender is Cyclops, because for people reading the comics, Cyclops is the leader, and he's actually like really smart and strategic, and he's a badass, and he does all this crazy shit. If anybody ever read Joss Whedon's run of Astonishing X-Men,
yeah, it was great.
I read like 4 comics of those.
Yeah.
I tried to make a collection, but I failed.
Well, in that run, it's like that will turn you into a Cyclops fan. But then adversely, it's sort of like, so what Fox did is they, back in whatever, the late 90s when they bought the rights to the X-Men movies, I guarantee you this is what the conversation was. They sat down and they said, okay, who's everybody's favorite X-Man? Oh, it's obviously Wolverine, right? So these movies are going to be centric around Wolverine. We're not going to make him 5 feet tall and ugly. We're going to make him,
dashing and tall, right?
Dashing, tall, loving, handsome man.
Yeah.
And since then, like in the comics, Wolverine has kind of molded into being more Hugh Jackman-y.
Yeah, he has.
And I think Hugh Jackman kind of molded into being more like Wolverine over time. Like if you watch Logan, that felt like Wolverine, right?
Wolverine.
So it's like
It did.
Yeah, kudos to them.
That was a great movie.
Yeah, it was.
Yeah, and they should have ended the series with that movie.
Versus Dark Phoenix, right?
Because the very last shot of that movie, it's like, okay, Wolverine's the last X-Man. He dies, spoiler, dies at the end. And you have the little X symbol, I think, right at the very end. And
the
then
cross, right?
Yeah, and then the movie ends. And it's like, oh, dude, what a great end to this interpretation of X-Men. But then what Dark Phoenix did is they kind of threw an extra little wrinkle in there that didn't close up the saga. Like at the end, it was like, I think it was just Xavier and Magneto being like, well, I don't want to play chess. Okay, bye. And then it ends and it's like, wait, this is the movie to end all movies. Like everybody knows that Fox got bought by Disney, and everybody knows that this is your last movie, and everybody knows that they're going to hardcore reboot X-Men into the MCU, which I'm thrilled about.
Right.
But Dark Phoenix, like, I don't know, man. I just don't know what the plan was.
See, that's where I think you're getting stuck. It's like, okay, if you didn't know anything about the whole comic book side of it, you would take it at face value for like I do. It's just like, was it a good movie? Not exactly. but it was an enjoyable little storyline, and it was fun, and it was cute, and it continued on. But you're right. I mean, it's that age-old issue, you know, people have it. The book's always better than the movie. This isn't any different, really.
Right.
It's just,
You know,
that's all it is.
I fundamentally had a problem with that movie because they give away the biggest spoiler in the preview. They show Mystique dies in the preview, and I'm like,
right.
why would you do that? Like, obviously you guys don't care. They're just like, yeah, it's whatever, you know?
You know, until you guys actually said it, I didn't think that was the last movie. I was just like, even after seeing it, it's like, this is going to keep going on and on and on.
It was supposed to be a trilogy. It was supposed to be a trilogy, but Disney bought out Fox, and they were like, nope.
Well,
Disney bought out everybody, man. Everybody is now 3. Okay, so real quickly, I want to go back to something. So
yes,
the sunglass thing, or the glasses. So, Mikey, do you think this could be your Sammy Hagar sort of thing? You know, people. So Sammy is known as the Red Rocker. So people constantly throw shirts, red things up for him to put on, hats, shirts during the shows.
Uh-huh.
Do you think that could be your Red Rocker thing? People are going to start throwing glasses up on the stage for you to wear during the show.
I mean, I think it would be funny if people chucked sunglasses at me, especially if like a hard edge just hits me like right in the eye.
All bad.
So, you know,
so
very cautiously.
So throw them at Mikey's feet.
Actually.
So very cautiously, sure, that could be my thing.
All right, I want to move on to a question. We got a question from does anybody remember a gentleman named Moy Rosiles? Anybody?
Oh, absolutely.
Anybody?
Yeah,
hey, Moy.
of course. Yeah. Hey,
All right,
Moy.
Moy's watching tonight. He's got a good question. This one is going to take this whole what we got going on tonight in a deeper direction, though. Okay.
Let's do it.
So, Moy had said a lot of stuff about bands coming to Tijuana and, you know, how great it is. And we've obviously said that we really enjoyed coming down there for just the atmosphere, the people, the crowd, and the food, the whole cultural environment. We just enjoyed it. Moy wants to know, if everything is so great like that, like, why are bands afraid to come to TJ?
I think maybe it's just misinformation, maybe the media. I've never had that fear. I've been going to Tijuana, I don't know, maybe even like a good 10 years before we went to go play. It was constantly my thing, my dream to go and play. I would go by the clubs and hear like cover bands. I'm like, man, that's going to be us someday. I talk to people and sometimes there's an initial hesitation because of things that I think get blown out of proportion, you know, and rumors in the media, stuff like that, you know?
Well, and here's the thing. I feel like I could be like I could probably provide a pretty good answer for that, just because I hadn't been to the first time I had ever been to Tijuana, and also the first time I had ever been to Mexico was doing a gig with Ruben down there a little more than a year ago. Yeah, and like Ruben said, I mean, before that, it's all just what people tell you, you know.
Yeah.
So, you know, I mean, there's always like scary stories, I think, with a lot of places. I mean, before I moved to San Jose, people are like, oh, good luck, you know. Before I moved to Los Angeles, same thing. People are like, oh, man, you know, watch out in Los Angeles, you know.
You won't find any artisanal mayonnaise, you know what I mean?
But, you know, I think there is something to be said about human nature and about how people do love to embellish, you know, or over exaggerate, or just in general exaggerate places and things and people and all that. So I think that's what it is.
Can I put up an opinion?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
So, for me, I would say it was fear of the unknown. Okay, but I tried to approach going down there for this first. Excuse me, that's my phone dropping. I tried to approach going down there for the first time as part of a entertainment act with a little bit more maturity, in knowing that, okay, if I have fears of safety, address that. You know, how do I make sure that that part is safe? But how do I also acknowledge I'm going into another country and I need to be open to what are some of the cultural norms that might be different feeling, but they're still fine. It's okay to enjoy it and learn. So yeah, it takes a little bit of maturity to go down and do something like what we did. And Ruben said it earlier. It's like there's a lot of moving parts, man. You got a lot of logistics in play there. You had two different musical parts that he had to assemble for that show, and being Nestor and myself, and then also Brian. So I'm sorry. So there's three. So there was a lot of different stuff, but if you address all those little fears and all those little concerns before you move into anything, not just going to Tijuana, but if you address that in a mature approach, it's going to be fine. So, that was my thing. It's like, I enjoyed it, but I was aware of my unknowns, and that's not something that should stop you from doing anything in life.
I agree.
So,
yeah.
Let me tell you something, guys. To Mike and Ruben, and I think it was Joseph. The first time you come here to Tijuana was actually on April last year.
April.
The first
Right.
festival. Actually, that was the first time that I saw you guys. You were playing on the Topo booth.
Yeah.
Wilted Heart, actually.
Yeah.
And well, there's something that you must know. In the place that you were playing, it's a mall called Plaza
Plaza
Sendero.
Sendero.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's right there, which from my house to there, it's far away. I consider like far away from here. It's considered one of the worst places here in Tijuana.
Oh,
and yeah, actually, and I think you didn't get what you expect, because again, it's one of the most dangerous places here in Tijuana. And I saw the video of how you were playing on the main stage, and you had actually a very warm evening. You were playing, and the people were very happy. And what I'm trying to say is, there's a lot of people that they're saying, oh, you're going to Mexico, you're going to Tijuana, it's very dangerous. A lot of drug dealers and stuff, And but at the end, you come here to Tijuana, and you ended up coming back to your house with a big smile.
absolutely.
You got a warm welcoming, and a great show. The people loved you. They enjoy the show a lot. And yeah, I mean, just don't we call it don't look at the cover of the book, just read the book.
Yep.
Yeah.
Tijuana,
Yeah.
there's good people here in Tijuana, not always as yeah, I mean, I agree that it's dangerous here and all, but don't believe a lot of things.
The hype,
It can happen to anyone. I mean, I also crossed the border, and for all the things that are happening, I believe me, I'm also afraid.
Yeah.
Everyone's afraid. So yeah.
Right. I think it was cool, and I know we're doing something right that night when we had that random guy just come up and play drums with us. So
I mean, here's the thing. I mean, that show, that experience that Ruben and I, and our buddy Josh, that night. I mean, that was probably our favorite show, right? I mean, I won't speak for Ruben, but for me, it was like, that April show was like, oh man, nothing could be better than what tonight was, right? And then when we played
June.
Then we played June, and it was like, oh dude, nothing's better than nothing's better than this,
Right.
One of the things I was really looking forward to this year, and I could easily just say looking forward to next year, is going back to Tijuana.
Oh, absolutely, man.
I mean, dude,
and thank you to Carlos, El Topo Records, man. That guy shows us a lot of love.
Thank you, Carlos. Yeah.
And then it came on I believe it was October, the Festiarte at Otay. It was September. Right?
September. The end of
September.
September.
Okay.
Yeah.
You know something that I really wanna change on the June gig. Play after Linda Olden. You know why? Because what I saw on Alameda was someone that it's like you. It's it's dressed weird. Don't get me wrong. Just don't get
No,
me
no,
wrong.
no. Yeah.
It's dressed like, well, that was the first time that I saw
Extravagant, right?
that I saw Linda Alden, and I was like, this is weird, but I love, it's fine. I mean, I love the song. And then I stop, and then I look at the other side of it. Hey, those are the guys from Juanipero. Hey, those are the guys from Juanipero. I know who.
Yeah.
I don't know. I don't know them very well, but I know who they are.
Yeah, Janelle, yeah, right.
They play on the same show with what I was playing with the Frontiers. But I said, hey, those are the Juanipero guys. And I was like, oh, so they're doing a band together, and this is the reason why Linda Alden works, because she got the best. She's making a great show.
Right.
And again, I would love to come back in time and play in June after Linda Alden, because I think it's gonna work way better. That's what I think. So
It's just the energy, right? Like, I mean, that's what we were already in talks of doing some other stuff with Linda this year, but COVID had other plans.
yeah.
Right.
Even after we played Otai, Moy hit us up and he was like, "Hey, let's get something together." And it didn't translate.
Yeah, it got canceled. Unfortunately. Yeah, we
Right,
were about to play with you guys actually. Yeah, but it got canceled.
Yeah.
Thanks to Fermin Cuarto. Damn it.
All right, so we got another question from Ye, and it says here, are you still producing new music in 2020, the COVID climate, right now? If so, how are we managing to do it? And since Ruben, you started talking and kind of alluding to that, why don't you start it?
Sorry, can I just say one thing?
Absolutely. So let's go with Mike.
Yay. We're totally down to answer this question, but next I would like you to ask Nestor a question specifically. Anyways, go ahead, Ruben.
Oh, so just since shelter-in-place quarantine gave the whole world some time to stay at home, with the exception of some essential workers, i.e., like Rick, who's been at work, battling this virus face to face. A lot of us got time to kind of sit with our thoughts, with our feelings, with our inner demons, and kind of create some cool stuff, some new songs. So we've been working on that since the beginning of shelter in place. Thanks to things like Zoom and apps like Slack, we've been able to communicate often and get a lot of those ideas like to a pretty good stage already, where we're making plans. I don't know if you want to maybe elaborate on that a little, Mike.
Sure. Yeah. So going into 2020, our original plans were, hey, you know what, we're going to set up some travel, some tours. We were gonna start playing shows outside of our area, whether that's California or even out of the country, right?
Yeah.
When COVID happened, I think that was still kind of on our mind, because originally, I mean, it was just going to be, I think, like 2 weeks of shelter in place, right? Which is like laughable now. But once we realized that this was less of a finite situation, we kind of just jumped into writing a bunch, because we figured, hey, obviously we're not going to be able to pick this up until late 2020 or 2021. Let's just do the next best thing, right? Let's take this year to be artists, to be creative. We had just started a new roster, Zeke here. And so we still wanted to kind of form as a band. And I think one of the best ways to do that is to play shows, but also the best way to do that is to write music. So yeah, I mean, that's kind of the plan now. I think we're making a lot of awesome material. And we're doing a lot of we're doing a lot of upgrades with how we're doing it. So
yeah, it's a little different, the process this time, but it's all good. It's great.
Looking forward to it.
How's the process different? So like, imagine, let's explain to people. We're telling them like what it's like now. So what was it like before? Because that's that's actually kind of interesting to me because I wasn't part of the previous writing process, right? So how was like a typical, let's talk about Victoria Trap. How is that different than what we're looking at right now? Wink, wink. Something's in the works.
Well, Ruben, I don't know if you want to launch into this or.
Yeah, go ahead, because that was when you were coming right into the band too,
Sure. Okay. So I'll try to make this as brief as I can, because it's lengthy. But so, when I came into the band, the band's name was Skyway View, and I had met Skyway View when I was in Drop Dead 60. And me and Ruben became sort of instant friends, and two of our band members from one member from each band kind of started this weird little dramatic situation for both of us, but we kind of became friends because of that, and so Drop Dead 60 ended in 2013. Skyway View needed to replace their singer by, I think, like probably mid 2014, right, Ruben?
Mid to late, yeah.
Yeah. So I had just moved to LA. I was unemployed for 3 months, and I sort of figured I was not going to stay in LA. I was going to move back to the Bay Area. And I remember mentioning that to you and Joseph, and you guys were like, "Hey, whatever, it's cool, man." So then I became the singer for Skyway View. And then just right away, I mean, they were already working on an album, which was the Victoria Trap. So they would send me demos with, sometimes it was Joseph singing the tracks, sometimes it was Ruben singing the tracks, and they just said, "Hey, take these and just put your own spin on them." I sent them a few songs that I had been working on, one of those being The Rundown, and then another one being Never Let Me Go, which I wrote with this producer named Steve Murr. But that was the first album. It happened very fast. It was just sort of like, "Hey, you're our singer now. We're making this album. The first show we have is going to be when the album comes out." And it was like, okay. So, we were Skyway View for a bit. We had kind of a occasional rotating cast. But then when it came to Celestina, it kind of came up like, "Hey, Joseph, Ruben, and I were very much interested in being the. I think we kind of took the reins of being the primary writers, right? So
yeah,
it was a lot of kind of sending demos back and forth to each other. Sometimes it would be, Joseph would just have music for something and he'd send it to me, or like Ruben would have music for something and maybe like the choruses figured out but not the verses, and he'd send that over to me. So it was actually like writing Celestina was actually kind of a very special time because it was a lot of like, the three of us just bouncing ideas off each other. And I was telling Rick this the other day. I really love when, like, for instance, Ruben would set up a chorus for me in a song, and then it's like up to me to write the verses, or let's say, right? And then I can kind of like play on what he's already said with the song and sort of spin it to I don't know, to mean slightly something else, right?
Right.
So anyways, fast forward through that, we released Celestina. We changed our name to Frantic Romantic because of the EA Games seminar, but I'll save that for another time. We changed our name to Frantic Romantic. We start playing shows a bunch. We start releasing music videos a bunch. We start really trying to like hunker down and network and expand ourselves. And then, fast forward to 2019, and I'd say about half the band sort of, for various reasons,
Exited, right?
Exited, right.
Yeah.
So we kind of restructured how we're doing things. We brought Zeke in here. By the way, Zeke is Skyway View alumni as well.
He's an alumni, right. He played keyboards way back in the days.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Yeah. And he sings. and he's just an all-around cool guy.
This is true.
But you know, everything we're writing right now, I think, is kind of an extension of what we've spent the last 6 years building on, and that's, you know, we understand kind of the general parameters of what Frantic Romantic means. You know, everything from the music to the lyrics to the wardrobe,
Presentation, right.
yeah, and it's cool because going into this, it's like it feels like it's nothing but fun. You know, it feels like it's like Joseph has all these new gizmos and gadgets and digital things that he's throwing at us, and he's really built upon some of the stuff he was able to do with the last album. Same with Ruben with his songwriting. He's dug a little deeper. I think, you know, both instrumentation wise and also like lyric wise and, you know, thematically. With myself, well, I don't know who I am really, and I don't really know what to say about that, but you know, I'm doing stuff too. So yeah, it's cool because I think the next stuff that we come out with is going to be really exciting. So,
You know, I compare it to if you ever watch a show that's gone on for a long run, if you go back and you watch the first season, it feels a little bit like they're trying to find their place. You know, I always think about The Office. The first few episodes were a little rough, right? Like they were kind of figuring out who they were. And as you go along with the series, it's there's already that character development, and that's kind of what's happened with the writing. I think that's happened with the songwriting. We know what we're doing. We know like the headspace that we need to write in. You know,
right.
I have a quick question for you guys.
Sure.
About the Victoria Trap record, which I considered my favorite one from the two records you have. I like Victoria Trap most.
Yeah.
But the question here is, how long did it took you of all the process of doing the Victoria Trap record? Because there's a lot of material. There's a lot. That's like what 5 music videos, I think.
We did 3 for that one, actually.
Oh, no, three. Sorry. Yeah, I'm sorry. Yeah,
4 actually.
four.
Technically 4.
We did four,
Sorry.
Yeah, I'm counting. Yeah, I only counting like 11, but I think I'm putting the more to
The Celestina.
Yeah, and actually, yeah. Well, how long did it took your the process of doing the entire record
Album?
Yeah, the album, the music videos, the process, all of it.
Wow.
The record itself. I know. You know what's funny is that Michael. We made an announcement that Michael joined the band New Year's Eve, 2014, going into 2015. Right?
Yeah.
We had already been working on stuff, but before that, like right before that, Ezequiel actually exited the band right before Michael came in and joined the band. Like not because of Michael, but it just happened that way. You know what I mean?
It's okay, Zeke. It's all right, Zeke. You can be
I'm
honest.
sorry, man. It was work.
Why is it?
I didn't want to.
Why?
No, man, it's all good. It's all good. You know, it's cool. You know, we've come full circle and you're back in.
No,
But
you're back in.
he was part of the process early on. You know, like I could say like Farewell to Oz, there's this riff I'm playing on the guitar. I didn't write that. Zeke wrote that. He had a capo on the guitar and he was playing, and I wrote the keyboard part. Joseph played over it, and that turned into Farewell to Oz. You know what I mean? And like people, if Zeke hadn't rejoined the band, maybe nobody would have been like, oh, I don't know who that guy is, you know? But I can tell you that's where that came from. I remember we wrote that record, a lot of that record really quick. Like we had really late sessions at my house with Joseph, Ezequiel, and myself. And we'd be up till 3, 4 in the morning just working on music on my piano, on acoustics. And that's how we wrote a lot of those songs.
Wow.
And so we announced that Mike joined us New Year's Eve, and the record came out in August. But we were already done with the record probably by May or June. And we were just, you know, getting everything ready, like the CDs printed and like getting a show in order. It was fast. It was really fast.
Right.
So 1 year, mostly like 1 year took you to do
roughly about 1 year. And then
okay.
the first music video, we shot it in that time, that first show. And it didn't end up getting finished in post. So we released it after the first show. The next video we didn't do till like, I don't know, maybe like 6 months later. And
I think
then the
it
next
was
one
maybe
was like a year later. Right. It was. I think it was. I think you're right. Yeah.
Yeah.
What was the first music video that you filmed? What was your
Crimson
first?
Petal.
Crimson Petal. Yeah.
Oh yeah. I know.
It's one that we don't really. I mean, I'm proud of it because it was the first video we did, and it's the only video that features Dave Gary. It was like the only thing we did with him. You know, it's
Right.
funny because he didn't like the video. He was like, "Man, no, it needs to be better." You know, and
You didn't like it?
he did it. He told Mike to re-edit it, and that's the version we released.
Right.
Was the re-edit that Mike did.
Yeah.
But you know what? Like, I'm proud of it.
Uh-oh.
First,
Did
you
we
know
lose-
what I mean? It's
oh,
just you always have some special love with that, you know.
Yeah, and that's the thing. It's interesting to look back on anything. I think in life in general, it's sort of like you gotta take certain steps to get to where you are, right?
You do.
And like Made of Glass, I think we went all out. Like, hey, we need a videographer. We need, we need someone that's really going to come in and like, we pay them. They have a professional equipment and all this. And I think Crimson Petal was sort of the hard lesson to be learned in order to do that, right?
Right.
I have another question, but this one is for Ezequiel.
Uh-oh.
You were on the first part of Frantic Romantic. Well, when it was called Skyway View, you got out, you came back. What do you think about the new music? What do you see any difference between the Victoria Trap record and the Celestina record, or how do you feel about the music of the changing? Because I see a lot of change. For me,
Oh, yeah.
yeah. Quickly, Victoria Trap for me is like more heavy, and this one is more happy and more
Pop, a little more
like
pop,
pop,
right?
like more
Right.
pop. But obviously it's rock and roll, Jim. But
Right,
anyways, what do you think about that as a kid?
There is a huge change from when I was in it. We used to do things a lot differently. But now it's a lot more cohesive. Like, we actually take time and focus in. Not that we weren't taking time and focusing, but we had a different process. It was mostly late nights at Ruben's place.
A lot of drinking. Unfortunately, a lot of drinking.
A lot of drinking. Yeah. It was a lot of drinking. Now it's a lot more. It's a lot more spearheaded towards sending material to everybody else and getting everybody's input into it. And the music has changed. It's a lot more, I want to say you could dance to it, and I love it. For upcoming songs, we're trying to incorporate element with kind of an edge too, and we have softer sides. So I think we're trying to mesh everything all together of those two albums into what we're coming up next. So,
Right.
I really
No
like
spoilers.
this process. I've never been in a band that's been so dedicated and so focused. We talk to each other constantly. We share ideas. It makes me feel lazy, because I'm like, I feel like I should put in more. But these guys, they'll meet you 100%. They're really motivated. So I love being a part of this band. It's great. And I can't wait to play in Tijuana. They always talk about it. They always talk about you, Nestor. They always talk about how you came in and one practice and you had it down.
Yeah, actually. Oh, go ahead. Sorry.
Oh, that's what I wanted to ask you. How did you approach that? I mean, how was the connection made for you to fill in and how did you actually practice? Did you listen to the songs?
Okay, so here goes my long story short. Here it goes. What happened was Ruben led me the songs and obviously the tabs and stuff. So he sent me to an email, and I took them all and started practicing. I remember the first song that I tried to practice was Un Lobo Entre Nosotros.
Oh, I love that song.
Yeah, I love it. That's my favorite song from. It's a tie between Snow and Lobo Entre Nosotros. I don't know.
Snow's a great one too.
Yeah.
Still haven't played it live.
I love the record. The record is awesome. But anyways, but the thing here is, the first time that I tried to practice the songs from Frantic Mac, I was like, man, this is hard. man, this is hard. Holy shit, this is hard. And yeah, I remember the first time that I practiced, I only took like 1 hour. And I'm being honest with you guys. I only practiced like 1 hour. I was like, man, I'm done. This is hard. This is hard. And then I met Ruben on Topo's house.
Right.
And he gave me the famous CD, which came all the set. And from that day, I start practicing. I'm not lying. I start practicing to 3 hours to 4 hours all days.
Oh wow.
All days. Not and when I was going to my job, when I was driving my car, I was listening to the CD, and I was like, okay, I missed this one, and okay, this is okay. Okay, Lo Entre Nosotros is like this. Okay, and then I was listening. I was very careful listening to the music, and then one day I just noticed. You know what? I'm gonna practice the songs without the Ruben gave me some sheets with all the tabs and all the measures. You know, I'm gonna practice the songs without the tabs and the measures.
That's
You're
cool.
not gonna believe me. At first try, I nailed it. At
Nice.
first try.
That's cool.
But all because the first week doing the rehearsals with the sheets with the tabs and stuff, watching the tabs. It took me I practicing like 3 hours, and then I said I have to do this without the measures, and then it came the final week for the show. I practiced 5 hours and every day since Monday to Friday, every day until I cry, until my fingers bleed.
Oh wow.
And it was because and again, I'm gonna be honest with you guys. You open my eyes widely of how it's great to be dedicated to this. And when Ruben asked me, hey, I'm counting on you because this is the first time this is the second time I'm coming to Tijuana, and I want to give a great show. So I was like, okay, you got my trust, and I'm gonna do this the way it is.
Wow.
Like, professionally and with dedication, and obviously because this is what I love to do. I love to play.
Well, Nestor, I just got to tell you, Nestor, I mean, it was a great honor playing that set with you, and man, you played it perfectly. So like,
yeah,
seriously, dude, thank you.
Yeah, the only sad part of the story is the CD died, because I rewind Victoria Club like 30 times every day. I'm not lying. and it was not because of I was trying to practice it. No, I love that song. So yeah.
Well, we got the reissue coming pretty soon. Pretty soon. I know we've been
Please,
saying that a
yes,
while.
I want that.
Yeah, we'll get that to you. Here's a little fact that I don't know if anybody noticed while we were playing, but I was right next to Nestor, and it was somewhere mid-set. I turn around, and Nestor looks at me with his eyes real big, and he says, "Oh shit, I just blew the speaker out." And I told him, man, it's rock and roll. They'll just think you have an overdrive on. Don't even trip, you know. And we just kept playing.
And the other funny story here is I think it was Brian that told me, you were so shy. I'm not going on front of the stage. And I was, no. The problem was there was a problem with the cable. There was like 3 pretzels on the damn cable that if I
couldn't move.
I would plug out the damn bass. I wasn't shy. I was doing my best just to get it more to the front. But yeah, I mean, it was, again, great experience. You guys, you show me how it's to be a more dedicated musician, be more professional. And I swear, guys, I practice every day the set list just to get I want you to believe me that I'm a professional and even a responsible person.
Oh,
that
absolutely.
You were
you can
completely.
trust.
Yeah.
And yeah, actually, again, I was nervous, but again, thank you so much, Rick. Thanks to you, my nervous went off because you were telling me, no, this is the first time that I'm playing with this guy. So so we're on the same channel. So
Same boat. Right?
No worries. I don't have to worry about it. But yeah,
I remember that night too. I was calling you because they didn't have an amp for me, and I was like, oh shoot, maybe Nestor knows somebody, you know.
Yeah.
This was literally like the band before us was finishing their set,
Rebels. Yeah.
and I was running everywhere to try to find an amp, you know.
Yeah.
Luckily, Mario from Troubles ended up letting me borrow his amp, but I was like, oh man, of all the places not to have something like that, you know.
But the most funniest thing is that we were supposed to play only a 1 hour show.
Oh yeah.
And we ended up playing 1 hour and a half. Thank you, Mike.
Well, the crowd wouldn't stop cheering, right?
Yeah. Because again, Mike was hanging out with the crowd, and everyone was having a great time. And
we extended Victoria Trap. He did it like 80 times.
Like a 10-minute song.
Yes.
My two favorite moments from that show is we played an encore, and I told the audience, I said, hey, you know what? We're not going to play this song unless everybody comes up towards the stage. And they actually did it. Yeah. And I was like,
crowded it.
Dude, that is so awesome. And then the second, my other favorite part was, because, you know, I mean, obviously, Nestor, I didn't know you very well at that point. And I thought, man, I'm bummed that like I can't interact with this guy because, you know, I'm a little shy.
Me too.
So what I did, the best thing I could think of was I just went over to where you were, and there was like a railing right next to you. And then I just grabbed the railing and just started acting like I was getting electrocuted.
Yeah.
And I just thought, you know what?
With you, I was like, yeah, man, this is
that'll break the ice. Yeah.
Yeah.
Man, that's you give a great lesson how a frontman needs to be. Actually, you are the great example of a frontman.
Right. I agree.
Thanks, man.
Yeah.
I totally missed it. I couldn't see anybody.
No, he was in the smoke. Rick was
there
in
in smoke. Yeah.
It had so much fog. I couldn't see anybody.
Yeah, Rick was so on the back, and I thought like, and because one part I was I think it was on Among the Stars, because Rick sings the song really cool, and I was looking at Rick like feeling the you know
the groove.
The groove, and I was like, oh my God, Rick is like very hidden. He can see me here. I was like, yeah, I was trying to make eye contact like Rick, and I was like, Rick, I tried to you know, look at you and tell me what we're gonna make the change, you know.
Yeah,
none of that.
Not gonna happen.
The best example I could think of is like if you ever watched Gangs of New York. All right, there's this big fight scene between all the different gangs, and it's really smoky.
Yeah.
And then all of a sudden, Daniel Day-Lewis is just kind of coming across Leonardo DiCaprio, and you just see like this little flash, and that was how the whole band was to me. It's like I can't see anybody, and then
you see Mike
zoom by. Yeah.
Mike zoom by. Yeah.
Actually, the
it
lights
was just
too.
The lights were cool.
Yeah.
Yeah. Everything. I mean, it looked great. If you were out in the front, we looked awesome. But
and there's some great pictures that got taken too, you know?
Yeah, but from where I was sitting, I couldn't see anything.
Actually, the video that I posted on my Facebook, you can actually, I can actually see you either. You're on the back. Either I think the only one that can barely see it's Amy.
Amy,
yeah. It's
real quickly.
It's beside me. Yeah, it's a side of me, but she's more like on the
light.
Yeah, more on the light. And I'm on the back thanks to the damn cable.
Yeah.
Speaking of Amy, Amy is watching tonight. So
hey,
cheers.
Amy.
Hey, Amy.
We miss
what
you,
up,
Amy.
What up? We do miss you, Amy.
Great keyboardist, Amy. She made the night for me. The most funny part of the evening is when they gave her a box with candy. Well, they gave us a box of candies. And I saw Amy like grabbing the box, and then by just I was looking at just looking to the stage, and then I look, and Amy was eating all the candies like
right there.
They're great. They're my favorite. Like screw the Tic Tacs and stuff. You know, these are candies.
These are the candies. Yeah.
Yeah, man. Oh my God.
All right, so let's put this back onto Nestor. Let's learn a little bit more about Nestor.
Yeah.
All right. So All right. So these guys have said, Rick, you asked the weird questions. Nestor,
Go ahead.
here's the word. All right. So if you could be a female rock star, who would you be?
Oh,
Good question. There's a Mexican rock star called Cecilia Toussaint. I think I would choose to be her. That's my favorite singer. Well, I will say my favorite singer is definitely Rita Guerrero, but the one that changed the way of how we look here in Mexico to the woman that they were trying to sing rock and roll is Cecilia Toussaint. She's a hero on the females rock stars, and Rita Guerrero, may rest in peace. She's the greatest singer of rock and roll, and
Oh,
here
wow.
in the rock en español, well, here in the Mexican rock en español. But yeah, Cecilia, I would choose Cecilia Toussaint. If you don't know, then Toussaint, Cecilia Toussaint. Look for her. There's a record called I don't remember it's the first record of her. Oh damn it! I have it here in my room.
You know what? Why don't you post it on Facebook? And we're gonna have to get it off your page.
I'm gonna
Do
post
that.
one, and I'm gonna show you who she is. You're gonna love it. You're gonna love
Okay,
it.
tag
her
us.
all the
Tag
way,
all
man.
of us.
actually, if you could post it in the feed there, that would be great for our
Yeah, in the comments here.
listening
Comments,
audience.
That'd be great.
Okay. I'll just check this one out, and yeah, but yeah,
Okay, and then
definitely.
while you're doing that, Nestor, one of our top fans here, Jeff Pedraza. All right, big supporter of Frantic Romantic and a lot of live bands here in the Bay Area. He wants to know, where can we find your music? What are you doing? What's some of the stuff that he can listen to that has you on it?
Okay.
Or even if you have other things too, I imagine he'd like to know what you like to listen to. But
Okay.
start with your stuff first.
Okay. Well, to Jeff Pedraza, good. Hi, first of all, and well, last year I was on 3 bands. I was with Domitila, I was with The Frontiers, and I was with Ghidorah. I gonna just let me write it down here. Let me Ghidorah, The Frontiers, and Domitila.
Domitila.
Yeah. Here it goes. And
And
yeah,
then,
sorry.
don't forget to spell out Cecilia. I don't remember her
Cecilia
last name.
Toussaint. Yeah.
Yeah, put that on there because somebody else was actually asking for the spelling specifically. So I didn't mean to interrupt you.
I think
That's one of the coolest things about this show is that we get to expose a lot of people to other aspects, to a lot of things that are going on down in Mexico, which is awesome. You know, I've had a lot of people hit me up about that.
And that speaks to what we were talking about earlier, Ruben. It's like getting rid of that fear that people have of like maybe somewhere that over some period of time developed this maybe a bad reputation, but it was not really based in truth so much, as much as maybe like a hyperbole of other people's situations or their experience of it after they've gone down there and don't have really clear recollection. Maybe they partied so hard they don't really clearly remember what they did.
Or
and then
even
when they're telling their friends about this, it gets all blown out of proportion. And now, years later, it's like it becomes this fearful place.
Or just, I mean, even other people's just lack of knowledge, right? If someone's telling you something about something that they don't even know about, if they've just been told by whoever that doesn't know, it's
telephone, right? Like we always say, it's just the message is just being skewed and lost, you know?
Yeah, man. Totally. I mean, like, so look, we've got potential with the reach down into Bogota, right? But what does everybody think of when they hear the word Bogota, Colombia, or the name Bogota, Colombia? They're not thinking about like great music venues and, a fantastic culture. They go off of what all the movies have shown and all the pop media and stuff, mountains of cocaine. It's like, that's not all of what it is.
That's with anywhere, you know what I mean? Anywhere in the world, really, Yeah.
Guys, I hate to be that guy, and I'm always that guy. We're just about at time.
Oh my
God. Doesn't even feel like it. That's crazy.
I know. I know. This conversation flew by. Nestor, it's always a pleasure chatting with you, man. It was a pleasure just hanging out with you in Tijuana that one time after the show. I've seen you 3 or 4 times, I think, by now. And some of those times have just been us hanging out, and that's been great. So thanks for coming on the show. I mean, we would love to have you back. of course, we are looking forward to actually seeing you again once our whole situation is over with COVID. But yeah, this please, if there's anything that you'd like to say, any last minute plugs for projects, please let us know. Let the audience know what you're up to.
Okay, first of all, I want to recommend this record here, which is called
Awesome.
and now just again to the Frantic Romantic guys, Ezequiel, again, nice to meet you.
Hey, it was good to meet you.
Rick, nice to see you again, man.
Nestor, man, thank you.
Yeah,
absolutely, man.
To anyone, and again, I just want to thank you for the invitation. It's a great pleasure again talking with you guys. Always a pleasure. Call me when you need me. I'm here. And again, thank you so much for opening my eyes widely of how I need to be a great musician, a very responsible person, and a very dedicated person too. Because the best part of this process of knowing you guys was getting on the stage, getting an applause, gather people to you and ask you for an autograph, or you ask you for a photo, and again, and I don't know how to say this, but to know that there's people that they have the mentality of doing this seriously, because unfortunately, and I don't care what people think about what I'm about to say, unfortunately here in Tijuana there's not a lot of people dedicated to the music like you guys. Just ask 10 bands from here from Tijuana who has been able to do, or who wants to do what you have done in 5 years. What you have done in 5 years, you have 2 records, you have 30 songs, and you have 11 music videos, and also you have a great energy, and you have an image. Ask one who has done that. I have been around for 3 years playing, and I have even done anything that you have become.
Well, so thanks, man.
That's a huge compliment. Thank you.
So that's the only reason why I always say to you guys, thank you so much for this, for trust, for open my eyes widely of how I need to with good people that I need to work with. And I think I don't want to work with people that I've been working for the last 3 years. I want to work with people that is obviously like you guys. And then if a band comes to me and asks me, hey, you want to be a bass player with this band? I think I'm gonna compare with you guys, because because here in Tijuana, I'm not gonna find anyone like you, definitely.
Wow. Well, thanks.
That's a huge compliment, man.
Huge compliment.
That's a big compliment.
That's my honest opinion. So yeah.
That means a lot, man. Thank you.
Nestor,
you so much.
You dude, you will never ever pay to see a Frantic show.
Right.
No, I will. And by the way, I don't want you guys to come back to Tijuana and play for Festiarte. No, I want you guys to come here and play for a Pal Norte, or I don't know, a Coordenada, or even a Corona Capital. You deserve that thing, because
thank you, man. Those are big places.
And quickly, because the time is running out. And quickly, Festiarte, it's a great show, yes, but I think Festiarte doesn't deserve you. You deserve way better. Oh, wow. Because you have a lot of material. You have what you need just to be on the greatest show. Make some research on the greatest events here in Mexico. As for Pal Norte, Coordenada, in Corona, I guarantee you're gonna be on it.
Awesome, man. Shoot us some info, man, and we'll start doing the research, figuring it out. There's a way. I'll figure it out.
We'll see you there.
The bad part is you got to wait till next year, because everything is canceled. Yeah,
I know.
And I know we've gone over, but Nestor, you got somebody here, Stephanie Brown. She's been watching the whole webcast here tonight, and she thinks you're pretty awesome. She wanted to pass that along. Thank you so much,
Stephanie.
She says she thinks you're very inspirational. All right.
Oh, thank you.
So
thank you. No, You are inspirational, and obviously I consider you guys my mentors too, because
We're like our
again,
extended family, dude. Come on,
Yeah.
man. You know?
yeah,
You're a part of the family, man.
Yeah, dude.
Yeah.
And again, thank you guys for
Hey,
the
thank you.
opportunity. Thank you for the
Thank you,
opportunity,
man.
your
Yeah.
confidence about that. And again, June 22 of last year, greatest show of the entire year.
Thank
Awesome,
you, man.
dude.
Yeah. All right, man.
Well,
Okay,
Guys,
guys,
bien.
please take care.
Thank you.
Okay.
Thank you
Igual.
so much for joining us. Nestor, honestly, that all those kind words that you've given us, it really means a lot. So thank you.
It really does.
Thanks for joining us. For everybody in the audience, this is Hanging with the Friends. We're your hosts, Frantic Romantic. We have a guest on every episode. So please tune in every Thursday, 8:30 to 9:30 here on, first on Facebook, then on YouTube. So yeah, everybody have a great night. We'll see you next week.
Yeah,
All right.
guys.
Take
See ya.
care, guys.
All right.
Bye.